Number 1. Choose the right variety for Florida. If you want bell peppers to thrive in Florida, variety choice makes or breaks the whole crop. Many gardeners grab whatever packet says sweet bell pepper and wonder why the plants stay small or drop every bloom once May heat arrives. Florida's sunshine and humidity can stress thick-walled, slow-maturing varieties that do fine up north. The key is matching your pepper to the state's unpredictable mix of heat, humidity, and heavy rain. Classic blocky bells like Big Bertha or California Wonder can work, but they perform best in early spring or fall, when nighttime temperatures still dip into the 60s. Once it's consistently in the 80s at night, those varieties slow down fast. For mid to late season harvests, choose types bred for heat tolerance. Varieties like Keystone-resistant Giant or Better Bell 4 keep flowering when others stall, while smaller fruited types such as Gypsy or Sweet Banana shrug off humidity and ripen faster before the bugs get bold. If you garden in North Florida, where spring nights stay cool a little longer, you can stretch your options and grow traditional blocky bells. Central and South Florida gardeners should focus on quicker, more resilient varieties that mature within 70 days and set fruit even when it's sweltering. Compact hybrids bred for containers are a bonus. They handle the heat radiating from patios and still deliver glossy, sweet fruit. Color choice also matters for timing. Green peppers are just immature fruit, while red, yellow, and orange types need extra weeks of heat to finish coloring. In Florida, that extra time invites sun scald and pests, so plan to pick most peppers when they're full-sized and green, leaving just a few to ripen for color. Whatever variety you pick, buy fresh seed each year. Bell pepper seed loses vigor quickly in Florida's humidity, even in sealed packets. Keep a spare pack in the fridge as insurance. By starting with a heat-tolerant, quick-finishing type, you'll give yourself the best shot at those thick, crisp peppers the supermarket never quite delivers fresh. Number 2. Start early and indoors. Timing is everything with bell peppers, especially in Florida. If you wait until it's warm enough to start seeds outside, you've already lost valuable time. Peppers are slow to germinate and even slower to grow once they sprout. So the goal is to have sturdy young plants ready to go as soon as the weather stabilizes. In North Florida, that usually means sowing indoors about 8 to 10 weeks before the last expected frost. For Central Florida, late January to early February works well, while South Florida gardeners can start right around the new year and sometimes grow peppers nearly year-round. Use a clean seed starting mix instead of garden soil, since outdoor soil in Florida carries fungus and bacteria that can attack delicate seedlings. Plant the seeds about a 1/4 inch deep and keep them consistently moist, not soaked. A plastic dome or a loose plastic bag over the tray helps trap humidity until the first sprouts poke through. Germination can take anywhere from a week to 3, depending on temperature. Peppers like steady warmth, so even if your house feels comfortable to you, the soil might still be too cool for them to wake up. A seedling heat mat underneath the tray keeps the soil in the sweet spot around 80 degrees and dramatically speeds things up. Without that bottom warmth, germination can drag on for weeks and result in weak, uneven sprouts. Once the seedlings have their first set of true leaves, remove the dome and move them under bright lights or near a sunny south window. In Florida's bright conditions, even indoor light can be intense, so give them a little space from direct sun to avoid leaf scorch. Rotate trays every few days so the plants don't stretch toward the light. Starting early indoors lets you get ahead of Florida's sudden spring heat. By the time outdoor soil is warm and nights are steady in the 60s, your seedlings will be ready to move out, strong, compact, and already weeks ahead of anything you could have direct sown. Number 3. Use bottom heat for germination. Bell pepper seeds are notorious for testing a gardener's patience. They won't sprout until the soil feels like summer. And in Florida, that can be tricky. The air might be warm enough during the day, but cool nights or drafty rooms can drop the soil temperature below what those stubborn seeds need. Warm soil, not warm air, is the real key. Bell pepper seeds germinate best around 80 degrees, and they want that heat to stay constant. A simple seedling heat mat under your trays provides steady bottom warmth that mimics tropical soil. This consistent heat tells the seeds it's safe to grow, helping them sprout faster and more uniformly. Without it, you might see one seedling pop up after a week, another after 3, and a few that never emerge at all. If you're using a heat mat, place a thermometer probe in the soil so you know the true temperature, not just the room temperature. Cover the trays loosely with a clear lid or plastic wrap to keep moisture from escaping. Peppers need steady humidity during germination, but if condensation builds up too heavily, lift the cover for an hour or 2 each day to prevent damping off disease. Once sprouts appear, remove the cover and move them to bright light right away. Leaving them on the mat for another few days is fine, but if the roots sit in constantly warm, wet soil for too long, they can weaken. For Florida gardeners, the beauty of bottom heat is control. Even on chilly nights in North Florida, your seeds stay toasty. In Central and South Florida, it keeps them from cooling too much during sudden temperature dips. The result? Faster, stronger germination that gets your bell peppers weeks ahead of schedule. Crucial when the coming summer heat is already waiting to challenge them. Number 4. Transplant timing and hardening off. Getting your pepper seedlings from the comfort of an indoor tray to the wild outdoors of a Florida garden is a delicate step. The sun, wind, and sudden temperature swings can all shock tender young plants if you rush the process. Florida's brightness is far stronger than anything those seedlings have seen under lights or on a windowsill, and that intensity can scorch leaves within hours if they're not properly hardened off. The first rule is timing. Don't transplant too early. Wait until nighttime temperatures stay consistently above 60 degrees, even in North Florida. For most of the state, that means moving plants out between late February and early April. South Florida can often get away with earlier planting, but don't confuse warmth with stability. A sudden cool front can still stall young peppers. Before you transplant, start hardening off your seedlings about a week ahead of time. Begin by placing them outside for a couple of hours in light shade, then bring them back in. Each day, extend their time outdoors and gradually introduce more sun. By the 5th or 6th day, they should handle full morning sun without stress. Wind is another factor. Florida's breezes can toughen stems, but too much too soon can topple delicate starts, so keep them somewhat sheltered until they strengthen. Choose an overcast morning or a late afternoon for transplanting. Avoid midday sun, which can instantly wilt newly moved seedlings. Dig holes deep enough so the root balls sit level with the soil surface. Press the soil gently around each plant and water thoroughly to settle it in. If you're planting into raised beds, this is when your cream-colored, powder-coated Vigo garden raised beds really shine. They drain well but still hold enough warmth for steady root growth. For the first few days after transplanting, offer light shade. A temporary cloth or even a chair can provide protection while they recover. Within a week, the leaves should stand tall again, and growth will resume. Once your plants adapt to real Florida sun, they'll be stronger, more resilient, and ready to handle everything the season throws at them. Number 5. Soil prep for strong roots. Bell peppers might look delicate, but below the surface, They're all about strong, steady root growth. In Florida's sandy soils, that's your biggest challenge. The native ground drains fast, loses nutrients even faster, and turns to dust between rains. To grow big, healthy peppers from seed, you'll need to build a soil foundation that can hold moisture and feed the plants without suffocating them. Start by loosening the top foot of soil to break up any compaction. Then mix in generous amounts of organic material. Composted manure, coconut coir, or peat-free compost all work well. These ingredients help sandy soil retain water while still draining enough to avoid soggy roots. Skip anything with chunks of wood since those will tie up nitrogen and slow early growth. If you're gardening directly in the ground, consider adding a few inches of rich compost every season to gradually improve the soil profile. Over time, that organic layer acts like a sponge, holding nutrients and preventing fertilizer from washing away during Florida's heavy summer storms. However, for most Florida gardeners, raised beds offer the best control. Those powder-coated Vigo Garden raised beds give you space for deep, fertile soil that won't bake dry or flood overnight. Fill them with a mix that's half compost, a quarter high-quality topsoil, and a quarter coarse sand or perlite for drainage. Peppers like a slightly acidic to neutral soil, so test your mix before planting. If your soil leans too acidic, a light dusting of garden lime will bring it back in range. Florida's rain naturally lowers soil pH over time, so plan to retest each season. Once the bed is filled, water it deeply and let it settle for a day or two before transplanting. A pre-wet bed ensures even moisture around the roots and helps prevent transplant shock. Healthy roots mean stronger plants and better fruit. With Florida's hot, sandy conditions, your peppers will depend on consistent moisture and nutrition from below. Get the soil right, and everything else, from growth to flavor, falls neatly into place. Number 6. Watering right in the Florida climate. If bell peppers could talk, they'd tell you they hate extremes, especially when it comes to water. In Florida, that's a daily balancing act. Some days you'll get a week of blazing sun that turns soil to dust, and the next, you're dodging thunderstorms that dump inches of rain in an hour. Managing water well is what keeps peppers from stalling, cracking, or succumbing to disease. Peppers like deep, consistent moisture, not daily splashing. A thorough soak every few days encourages roots to grow down, where the soil stays cooler and more stable. Light, frequent watering keeps roots near the surface, which makes plants more vulnerable to heat and dry spells. Stick your finger into the soil. If the top inch is dry but still damp below, you're in the sweet zone. For raised beds or containers, drainage is just as critical as moisture. Standing water around roots causes pepper stems to wilt and rot. Make sure each bed drains freely after heavy rain. A light mulch of compost, not wood chips, helps slow evaporation without trapping too much humidity near the stems. Florida's humidity can fool you into thinking your plants don't need water because the air feels damp, but peppers respond to what's happening in the soil, not the atmosphere. In Central and South Florida, afternoon storms often wet only the surface layer. When that happens, wait until evening, then check whether the lower soil is still dry before adding more. For automatic watering setups, short cycles twice a day work well in peak summer. Just make sure each cycle runs long enough to reach the deeper roots. Hand watering lets you observe plant health up close. Yellowing leaves, droopy foliage at midday, or cracks in fruit all give clues about water stress. A steady rhythm of deep, well-timed watering helps peppers stay productive, even through Florida's wildest weather. Once your system's dialed in, you'll see fewer flower drops, fewer misshapen fruits, and plants that power through both drought and deluge without missing a beat. Number 7. Feeding for steady growth. Bell peppers are heavy feeders, and Florida's sandy soils don't hang on to nutrients for long. If you want strong plants and crisp, flavorful fruit, you'll need to give them a steady food supply that matches their growth pace, not all at once, but in small, consistent doses. Think of it like fueling a marathon, not a sprint. Start by working a balanced, slow-release fertilizer into the soil about a week before transplanting. This gives young roots something to feed on as they settle in. In Florida's heat, organic materials like composted manure or worm castings break down quickly, offering a gentle but ongoing source of nutrition. Avoid dumping large amounts of fertilizer right into the transplant hole. That can burn roots and set the plants back. Once the peppers start putting on real growth, feed them again every few weeks. A liquid fertilizer, fish emulsion, or compost tea works well because it delivers nutrients directly where the roots can use them. Alternate between nitrogen-rich feeds for leaf growth early on and more potassium-heavy ones once the plants begin to flower. That balance helps the plants stay leafy without sacrificing fruit production. Because Florida rain can wash nutrients straight through the soil. Always water before you fertilize. Wet soil protects the roots from fertilizer burn and helps nutrients spread evenly. In raised beds, a little fertilizer goes a long way. Those contained spaces don't lose as much to runoff, but they do need frequent light feeding to stay fertile. Watch your plants closely. Pale leaves usually mean they're hungry for nitrogen, while dark green foliage with few blooms suggests you've overfed. A light hand wins every time. Too much fertilizer makes plants lush, but stingy with fruit. By feeding gradually and consistently, you'll keep your peppers healthy through Florida's long growing season. Instead of quick spurts followed by burnout, you'll see steady growth, continuous flowering, and a long harvest window that stretches well into fall. Number 8. Pest and disease patrol. In Florida, bell peppers aren't just growing plants. They're open invitations to a dozen pests and diseases that thrive in the state's warm, humid air. Staying ahead of those problems is half the battle. Once they get established, you'll spend more time fighting than harvesting. Aphids and whiteflies are the usual suspects. They cluster under leaves, sucking sap and leaving behind sticky residue that invites mold. A weekly rinse with a hose can keep their numbers down early on. But if they multiply, bring in reinforcements. A quick spray of insecticidal soap or neem oil works well as long as it's applied in the early morning or evening, never during Florida's harsh midday sun. Then there's the pepper maggot, one of Florida's most frustrating pests. The adult lays eggs in developing fruit, and by the time you notice soft spots or tiny holes, the damage is done. Harvesting peppers promptly as soon as they reach full size reduces the window for infestation. Discard any damaged fruit far from your garden to prevent future outbreaks. Fungal and bacterial diseases are another constant threat. Florida humidity encourages leaf spot, anthracnose, and bacterial blight, all of which start as tiny, water-soaked spots that spread quickly. The best defense is prevention. Space your plants to allow airflow. Avoid wetting the leaves when watering, and remove any infected material right away. Crop rotation helps too. Don't plant peppers or other nightshades like tomatoes in the same spot 2 years in a row. Leaf miners, stink bugs, and caterpillars may also show up. But a healthy, well-fed plant is far more resistant to damage. Encourage beneficial insects such as ladybugs and lacewings. by keeping flowers like marigolds and alyssum nearby. These attract natural predators that balance the ecosystem in your favor. Pest control in Florida isn't about one big battle, it's about constant vigilance. A 5-minute walk through the garden every few days, turning over leaves and checking stems, often prevents what could become a major outbreak. Catching issues early keeps your peppers thriving, your sprays minimal, and your harvest basket full. Number 9. Heat management and shade strategies. By late spring, Florida's sun turns brutal, and bell peppers feel it first. Once daytime highs hit the 90s and nights stay muggy, peppers start dropping blossoms. That's their way of saying it's too hot to reproduce. Managing that heat is the only way to keep them fruiting through the long summer stretch. Start by understanding what's happening inside the plant. When temperatures soar, pollen becomes sterile and flowers fall off before pollination. Even if the fruit sets, prolonged heat can cause sunscald, white or pale patches that form on peppers exposed to direct afternoon rays. Fortunately, there are a few simple tricks to protect your plants and stretch production through Florida's blazing months. Shade is your best ally. A lightweight cloth that blocks about 30% of the sun gives peppers just enough relief without slowing growth. Drape it over a simple frame or across stakes, leaving open sides for airflow. Set it up by late morning and remove or raise it in the evening so the plants still get full morning light. In raised beds, orienting the rows north to south ensures every plant gets even exposure as the sun moves across the sky. Good hydration goes hand in hand with shading. Deep, steady watering helps peppers regulate internal temperature and reduces flower drop. Avoid overhead watering in full sun. Droplets act like lenses, intensifying heat and burning leaves. Instead, water early in the morning so plants start the day fully hydrated. Companion planting can also help. Taller crops like okra or sunflowers cast a bit of filtered shade, and low-growing herbs like basil cool the soil and deter pests at the same time. If the heat becomes overwhelming, consider letting a few plants rest while you start a second batch of seedlings indoors for fall. In much of Florida, that fall crop performs even better than spring's. Cooler nights, fewer bugs, and steady production straight through December. Managing heat isn't about fighting Florida's climate, it's about working with it. With the right shade and moisture balance, your peppers will keep blooming long after most gardens have called it quits for the season. Number 10. Harvesting and saving seeds. After months of care, seeing your first Florida-grown bell peppers ready for harvest feels like a victory. But timing matters just as much now as it did when you started those seeds. Pick too early, and you'll lose flavor. Wait too long, and the heat, bugs, or humidity might ruin what you've worked so hard to grow. Bell peppers can be harvested at any stage of maturity. When they reach full size and turn a glossy green, they're technically ready to eat. Most store-bought peppers are picked at this stage because they ship better and resist rot. But if you leave them on the plant a few extra weeks, they'll ripen into red, yellow, or orange fruit with a much sweeter flavor. In Florida's climate, that extra ripening window can be risky, so monitor them daily. A single thunderstorm followed by intense sun can sunscald the side facing the sky. Use pruning shears or scissors to cut the stems. Never pull. Tugging can break branches and invite disease through open wounds. After harvest, rinse the peppers and store them in a cool, dry spot. They'll keep for about a week on the counter or up to 2 weeks in the fridge. To save seeds, pick your healthiest, fully ripe peppers. Slice them open, remove the seeds, and spread them in a single layer on a paper towel. Let them dry in a shaded, well-ventilated area for about a week. Avoid direct sun. Florida humidity and heat can make seeds mold if they dry too slowly. Once crisp and dry, store them in labeled envelopes or small glass jars with a moisture absorber inside. Keep them somewhere cool and dark. A refrigerator is ideal. Good seed-saving practices not only save money, but also build regional adaptation. Over time, your homegrown seed will become slightly more tuned to your microclimate, giving you stronger plants each season. In Florida, where conditions swing from drought to deluge, that local resilience can make all the difference. Growing bell peppers from seed in Florida isn't always easy, but it's one of the most rewarding crops you can take on. Once you learn how to work with the state's heat, humidity, and unpredictable rain, those plants will reward you with crisp, colorful fruit nearly year-round. Florida gardeners have the rare advantage of being able to grow multiple pepper cycles in a single year. A spring crop, a fall crop, and sometimes even a short winter one if frost stays away. If this is your first time starting peppers from seed, don't worry if things move slowly at first. Bell peppers take their time, but once they're established, they'll keep producing right through. Florida's long growing season. Keep your soil healthy, your watering consistent, and your eyes open for pests. With that foundation, even one raised bed can yield dozens of peppers in a single season. Whether you're in North, Central, or South Florida, each region has its quirks, and I'd love to hear what works for you. Drop a comment sharing your area and the variety you're growing this year. It helps other Florida gardeners learn too. And if you found this guide helpful, hit that subscribe button and join me here on Ground Truth Gardening for more Florida-focused growing tips, seasonal planting guides, and real-world advice straight from Zone 9.